What is up, my fellow sports fans? Got a bunch of fun trade reactions to go through. So, what I'm going to do is go through exactly what the trade was, what PFF said, and how they were wrong. Because PFF used to be my god. And I still, whenever I hear about a player I don't know or like an offensive line, I'm like, oh, what does PFF say? And then I remember that week one this year, they graded Pat Mahomes as the 8th best quarterback, worse than like Ryan Tannehill, even though he had like 5 touchdowns. So, the first trade we got is Colts giving up Nyheim Hines to the Bills for Zach Moss and a conditional 2023 6 that could become a 5th-round pick. Let's just pretend it's a 6. So the Bills get Nyheim Hines. They spent a 2nd-round pick on James Cook to be that dynamic satellite back. He's actually was really good last game, which is funny. They pull a trade off after he looked hella good against the Packers. But overall, he hasn't been that guy. They haven't relied on him. Moss doesn't really push the needle. And Singletary, while he's done better this year, they literally didn't use him at all in the playoffs last year. So they don't have that much trust in him. And Nyheim is a great pass catcher. So I like the move for the Bills. Zach Moss is nothing. 2023 6 is nothing. This is a playoff win now team. You saw the Rams last year winning a Super Bowl, giving up everything, the whole kitchen sink for Matt Stafford and Von Miller. And they're giving up a running back and a 6th or 5th round pick. I like that. They say it's average for the Bills. I'm definitely going to say it's above average for the Bills. The Colts, their team sucks. They're not doing anything this year. Matt Ryan is not the Matt Ryan we thought he would be. It makes sense to trade their assets. I like Nyheim Hines. I actually, in our Dynasty Football League, we're in year 12 now. When Josh Allen was a rookie, I've talked about this. I'll talk about it numerous times. So Josh Allen is 1 year after Pat Mahomes. When I was looking into Pat Mahomes, Daniel Jeremiah, I was looking to Mahomes and then Allen, and Daniel Jeremiah said that Allen is a bigger, stronger, faster, toolsier Pat Mahomes. I'm like, I don't want the hypey Mahomes. I want the underdog Allen. Turned out I was right. Josh Allen is that guy, but I could have had both. Anyways, end of the 3rd round, I was like, this is the changing of my fortunes. Not that I had the 1st overall pick and took Saquon from tanking. That was cool. The changing of my fortunes was end of the 3rd round. I go Josh Allen, Nyheim Hines, and Antonio Callaway. Antonio Callaway had been billed as like a top 3 wide receiver talent with attitude problems. I'm like, this is that guy. I'm seeing past the attitude problems. He's going to be a changed man. I was so wrong. He's such a dick. Didn't try. Whatever. Was dead spot on about Nyheim and Josh Allen. Nyheim didn't translate into like a fantasy superstar because he's too small. They don't really let him play that much. But it's like, I was like, this dude does next level stuff on tape. Video game player. And I was right. He can juke the crap out of you and he can catch passes. And that's what the Bills are getting. So that's totally an above average trade. Actually, if I had to give a grade, I'd say it's like a A-. No, it's like an A. It's an A for them. They're not giving up much and they're getting a chance to gain. The Colts, I would say it's like a B. It's a B for them. It's a solid B. Love that. I'm just doing this on the spot. I did tons of research and all this. I was going to do it the other day. Actually, there's this horrible beeping noise in my house, and so I couldn't do the podcast. But I didn't do the grades. The grades I should do on the spot right now. But yeah, for the Colts, if their season sucks, then they need to recoup whatever they can. So getting a 5th or 6th for running back or running backs, you can get another running back. It's not that big a deal. It makes sense for them. And also, if Jonathan Taylor gets hurt, Nyheim Hines is not that workhorse. Zach Moss can be more of a grinder. The weird thing about it is, though, is that Deion Jackson actually looks kind of good. So I don't think it makes that much sense. But, you do need a running back. If Taylor, no, you don't. They probably could have gotten a higher pick and not gotten Moss and used them running back off the street clothes. That's what I would have done if I were them. I would have asked for a 4th and not taken Moss. But, I mean, I like Zach Moss, so it's fine. B, solid. Oh, and that's right. Buffalo did try to sign J.D. McKissick, so it's like they drafted James Cook. They clearly wanted that satellite back, so getting Nyheim is a win for them. This one's really fun. I'm going to skip it, though. Talk about the next one. I'm going to do a whole one on just Bradley Chubb. I've talked fucking 4.5 minutes about just Nyheim Hines. Obviously, Bradley Chubb gets his own one. So the Niners, Jeff Wilson for a 5th. That makes sense. For the Niners, let's go A+ for that. Clearly, he's killing it this year, and he's going to a team that really needs that. Willing to give up more. The Dolphins just gave up Chase Edmonds in that Chubb deal. The Bills didn't have a dire need for running back, so they're probably not going to give up as much as the Dolphins could give up more. So I'm going to say that's like A to A plus for the Niners. They got a fifth. They don't need Wilson. They got CMC. They just gave up a fifth for CMC, so they did a good job there, and they can make anyone be a good running back. They've got Davis Price, so they're fine. The Dolphins, PFF. Oh, I didn't say. Niners were given an above average. Dolphins were given a below average. Dolphins value solid. Fifth, agree. Thing is, I think as the Niners kind of regime with Mike McDaniel having success with Mostert, let's bring it back. Let's bring Jeff Wilson. But now you have like two run, like the point of Mostert and Edmonds is thunder and lightning. Now you have thunder and thunder. You have two like zone runners. So it's cool. You've got your insurance, but then you're not as much of a dynamic offense. If you're in that 2-minute drill and you've got Tyreek and Waddle on the outside, do you want that electric pass catcher? So, I would have gone for Kareem Hunt if I were them. The Browns have D'Ernest Johnson. There were people who said Antonio Gibson was available. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that. That would have been cool. Ron Rivera, who believes him, says that he wasn't available, but Kareem Hunt almost definitely is. He's on an expiring contract. Chubb is an absolute superstar. They have D'Ernest Johnson. So I think it makes much more sense to get Hunt. He is an established pass catcher. So I'm just going to say average for the Dolphins. It's fine value, giving up fifth, no big deal for Wilson. Someone who is going to fit. The chance Chase Edmonds didn't fit. The chance Kareem Hunt didn't fit. I don't think that's the case, though. Hunt had a seamless transition from being a star on the Chiefs to a backup on the Browns. So I do think Hunt would have been a better choice. But again, it's not a below average move, as PFF says it's an average move. And you do need that second running back. You need a backup and a second. Mostert super injury prone, so it makes sense. Next move is Falcons to the Jaguars for a conditional 2023 fifth and a conditional 2024 fourth. And the fourth is a fourth if he's on the 2023 roster, which he will be. It becomes a third if he reaches incentives, which if he plays, he will. So it's most likely they're getting a fifth and a third. And it becomes a second if he gets a contract extension. So that's not as sure because they've already given money to Christian Kirk. They're going to have to pay T-Law, and they got a bunch of good people on defense. That being said, T-Law is just in his second year, so he's 3 years away from that extension. So they could even give him a 3-year extension, and it still becomes a second for the Falcons. So that kind of makes sense for the Falcons in that way. Trading Ridley for a second and a fifth works. Cottonmouth, real thing. Still don't smoke, but still a thing. They have Drake London. They have Kyle Pitts. They're 1 and 2 alpha dogs. Plus, they've been running the ball every freaking play. So to them, another receiver doesn't seem as important. They're not in win now mode. But that being said, if Ridley's not playing, why are you giving up on a dude if you're not in win now mode? So that's a little weird for me. Also, they're running the ball every play with Mariota, but he's on a 1-year deal, and Ridder is their quarterback of the future, it appears. They're running an offense that also he'll be able to run. He can do those read options that Mariota does, but he also seems to be more of a pro-style passer than Mariota projected out of Oregon. So I think saying they run the crap out of the ball now, you don't know how it's going to go with Ridder. Like, he could be like a Dak Prescott, who's just way better than you expected him to be. And everyone said he's super pro ready. He's got like the one of the highest winning percentages in college football history. So I don't say give up on Ridley. That being said, we don't know about Ridley. So really bet on sports, which is like not a big deal. He's not a steroid user. He's not a woman beater. He's not someone who doesn't try and practice. He's not an Albert Hainsworth. His brother is a professional football player. So they're like good, high character people. That being said, betting on sports is like, I put me before the team. He knew that was legal and he did it. Receivers tend to be divas. He could be kind of like, I'm so great, blah, blah, blah. That being said, you look into what PFF says. Let me spit my shot first. So that's kind of complicated. If it becomes a second round pick, it's actually kind of a wash. That's like kind of fair value. But I don't watch Falcons games because Michael Vick left. Ridley from 2018 to 2020, 82.9 PFF rating, 1.99 yards per route, which ranked 21st. So that's kind of what I thought. 21st best receiver. I would say he's somewhere in that 13 to 21 range. But 6th most explosive receptions, and that's without a great quarterback. So dude is a little better than people give him credit for. So if I'm the Falcons, I'm not giving up on someone like that, especially because that means there's less people to guard Pitts and Drake London. If they do get that second round pick, though, they can just draft another one and have a better, more contract friendly situation. That being said, unlike a team like the Dolphins, we're talking about all these pieces, and the Jaguars, the Falcons really don't have anyone. So when you don't have anyone, it kind of makes more sense to sign them. It's like when the Titans traded A.J. Brown, they had to pay Tannehill and Derrick Henry. Who are the Falcons paying? Name a single person they have to pay. The cornerback, A.J. Terrell. It's one person. So from that point of view, I wouldn't sell Ridley personally. I do think the value is fair. I'm going to say average for the Falcons. I just went PFF route and just said average. C seems harsh because like C's aren't average. C's like meh. C's get degrees, but really it's now B's. So I'm going to give them like a B or a B minus on that. They gave the Jaguars an excellent. I do like getting that thing for T-Law, but if it works out and you're re-signing him, like, yeah, this is our guy, and then you re-sign him, you get up a second and a fifth for him. And I think you can just do that in the draft. Also, I'm a big fan of having a big dude, at least one big dude. I don't think having like 5'10" Christian Kirk and 6 feet tall Calvin Ridley is going to scare anyone that much. So I think, we're not paper warriors. It is how they play on the field. They're both good route runners. That's cool. But at the end of the day, you do want that X factor. You want that Legion of Boom, Cam Chancellor, who scares the living crap out of you. And I don't think the Jaguars have that with this trade. Their running back situation with Etienne is cool. So Etienne does kind of scare you. And Evan Ingram is solid. But again, I'm not sure that's worth a second-round pick if you end up re-signing him. And then if you don't re-sign him, you've given up a third or a fourth for a dude you don't re-sign, who's not playing now. So not sure. But if it's a fourth, that's really not that big a deal. I don't know how high the incentives are. So if the incentives aren't high, then that could work. But if he has the incentives and they don't, basically, if he hits the incentives and they don't re-sign him, don't like the trade for them. Doesn't make sense. I totally just skipped on giving them a deal. Let's give them a B plus or A minus. It is solid. You're getting a solid playmaker in the room. It's better than what they have. Steelers doing Steeler things. Chase Claypool to the Bears for a second. So it turns out the Packers also offered Claypool a second for Claypool, but they took the Bears offer because the Bears suck, and that's going to be a worse pick. Knowing this, the Packers should have offered a second and a fourth. If you have Claypool and Christian Watson, 2 6'5" athletic freaks on either side of the field, there is no team that has two corners that can guard both of them. And even if you do, Dobbs is going to screw you over. So I think the Packers would have been absolutely in their best interest to do that. They also should have outbid the Vikings for TJ Hawkinson. He's got that sexy flow. He's like a top 10 tight end in like every metric in the past 5 years. So I think getting either Hawkinson or Claypool would have been really good for them. And they run the ball so much. Those are also both big dudes who can block. So I think that would have been great for them. Help Rodgers out in the twilight of his career, kind of like when Peyton Manning came to the Bronco and had all those weapons there. Julius Thomas, Demaryius Thomas, rest in peace. Sorry, it's kind of like running out of wind. I kind of like, rest in peace. No, rest in peace, Demaryius Thomas. Really good guy, a really good receiver. I was a huge Dez Bryant fan. They're always comparing the two, who's better. They're both superstar Hall of Fame type players. Neither will be in the Hall, but they had more consistent careers, could have been. So Claypool, Steelers draft him with the 42nd overall pick. Get 3.5 years out of him and then flip him for another second-round pick, who they'll now use either another first, second, or third, considering they have an extra pick to get another receiver. Steelers doing Steeler things, A+ of all the teams. If I were them, I personally would have traded Deontay, because what I say about the big dudes, you have Chase Claypool on one side and Pickens on the other side. That's a nightmare. And then if you go to the draft to get another big dude, then lights out. So even though Deontay is the most polished of the three right now, and they did pay him already, I guess I couldn't have traded Deontay because they paid him. But if they hadn't paid him, then I do think it's terrifying. You're talking about the paper warriors. That's terrifying to have Najee, Freiermuth, and those two beasts on the outside. I think Kenny Pickett would really like that. But that being said, Kenny Pickett is more of a pocket passer who likes those route runners, and Deontay's that. So that's fine. totally fine. Still an A+. Bears, love it. You need to know Fields is a guy. He's got that elite athleticism, but has been struggling to really make things go on the fly with the pass. And so now he's got two good receivers. We're talking about Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley. And that's like not super, super sexy, but it gets the job done. Same thing with Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney. Neither one of those are like those super, super sexy names, even though Chase Claypool is like super sexy in Madden because he's 6'5" and runs super fast. But he's not a super polished route runner, and Mooney's not your typical alpha dog. But those are both like, I've talked about Darius Slayton and Michael Gallup like that. Like they're not great number ones, but that's your number two. A lot of the number two corners are going to struggle with when they were healthy a couple of years ago, Slayton or Gallup. And number two corners are definitely going to struggle with Mooney and Claypool. So I do like this move for the Bears. Maybe they're not like a winning team. Maybe they don't re-sign Claypool and that second's like wasted. But they get to evaluate if Fields is a guy or not. And then they also have the leveraging power with Claypool and Mooney. Oh, you want the money? You're going to ask for extra money? No, you're gone. You get a compensatory pick when they leave, and you sign the other one. So even if they don't sign Claypool, it allows them to sign Mooney for cheaper. And who knows? They could have busted on that second-round pick. So they're literally use their second to get a guy of second-round value. But the problem with draft picks is you don't know if they're going to be good. They know this guy's good. So honestly, A+ for both teams. A++ for the Steelers because they're in Steelers. PFF says below average the Bears. No, it's all about a quarterback league. You need to surround your quarterback with people you can throw the ball to. And the Steelers, they better give excellent. They gave good. No, it's excellent. Commanders, William Jackson III, conditional 7th to the Steelers for a conditional 6th. So basically, the Steelers gave up a 6th and got a pick back for William Jackson. He's a cornerback who I know. And if you know who defensive players are, they're usually pretty solid because it's an offensive league. We know the offensive players. Commanders, they gave above average because they were probably going to waive him. So that's not above average. If you're going to waive him and you got a 6th for him, that's excellent. Props. Steelers, they gave him below average. Again, I know who this dude is. They're like, oh, they're not really in win now mode. But it's also like a football city. They want to win. So if you're having a rookie QB who's going to struggle, Najee seems banged up, you're trading Chase Claypool, do something to make the fans happy. Love it. Excellent for both teams. You just got a 2nd and you gave up just a 6th for a cornerback who can play for you. So it's excellent. You don't want your fan base mad at you. Again, I always say this, one team wins the Super Bowl, another team is in the Super Bowl. Those are the only teams who are like proud of how their season went down. The rest of them need to keep their fan base and their pockets looking good. Claypool is one that could piss off the fan base and their pockets. So William Jackson III is like, no, we still care about you guys. We're a winning culture franchise. And they are a solid franchise. I trust the direction of the Steelers as much as any franchise in the league. The number 3 franchises I trust the most are the Patriots, the Steelers, and the Ravens. They always make baller moves. Eagles are starting to move up there as well, which sickens me to say that. Lions, weirdest trade yet, trading TJ Hawkinson and a 2023 4th and a conditional 2024 4th to the Vikings for a 2023 2nd and a 2024 3rd. So weird. So weird. So let's read what PFF says about Hawkinson. He was taken like 8th overall. He's lived up to the billing. They say arguably no. They did exercise his 5th-year option. And 79 receiving grade is 9th. 23 since 2020. 23 forced missed tackles, ranks 6th. 63.6 contested catch ranks 4th. That's baller. Ranks top 10, as I said, pretty much every receiving metric. Tight ends are a crapshoot. Having a tight end who can catch passes and block so that you don't give up what you're doing is awesome. Every good team should strive to have an elite tight end. So he may not be elite, but he gets the job done. And they're like, oh, are they going to pay him? There's a franchise tag. So he's going to the Vikings. They've paid their quarterback. Dalvin Cook's one of the other best players. You don't have to pay him. They have Madison, but I'm pretty sure Dalvin has a contract. So they have Dalvin. I've got some good players on defense, but at the end of the day, as I've said before, offensive players are what pay the bills. And if you don't think Kirk Cousins is good enough, you give him a tight end, which makes him better. They have Justin Jefferson. He draws coverage, which means Hawk is going to be running way more wide open than he has in the past. So, and then they have Irv Smith coming back. So Hawk and Irv is great. Irv is more of a pass catcher. Hawk can block, take some of the blocking pressure off of Irv. Really good move for the Vikings. Absolutely love it. They said good for the Vikings. I say it's a B+ for the Vikings. It is a little steep giving up a second, especially given the contract stuff. But I also don't think a big tight end breaks the bank. They were saying like a big deal for a tight end is like paying a top 25 receiver, and he has more value because he can block. So what's really weird for me for the Lions is they gave up the 2023 fourth. If you done Hawk for just a second and third, I like that. Or if it's a 2024 fourth. But I don't really like that it's a fourth in this next year. So for the Lions, I give it a B-. I don't love giving up on a tight end, a hard position to find. Like the Steelers give up on Claypool, who I think is more talented and has a brighter future than Hawkinson. But he's a receiver, which is easier to find. So it's much easier to replace Claypool than it is to replace Hawkinson. So for that reason, I don't like the Lions. And it's Dan Campbell. He's like Mr. Gritty, like, I drink 2 coffees each or 2 Red Bulls or whatever, the Red Eyes with like 2 large coffees with 2 shots. And it's like, you're like rah, run every friggin' play. And like, it's a tight end. You need a tight end. So I don't think Dan Campbell's happy about this. I think the GM did that without asking him. So I don't love the Lions doing it. That being said, they did trade up to get Jameson Williams and lost some draft picks in doing so. So getting back a second, third is cool. But we're talking about franchises you trust, and the Lions are at the bottom of that list. Not just in football, but in all freaking pro sports. They had Matt Stafford forever, did nothing with him, and then trade him away, and he wins the Super Bowl. So clearly he was good. And they traded for Goff, who we're not sure is good. So it's like, that's not a franchise I trust. I don't trust them to do the right things with those draft picks. If they do, the trade makes a lot more sense. Also, tight ends are more likely to get hurt. So if you're going to trade your tight end and then draft in second and third round, you can get some players who can be on your team for longer. So that's cool. We'll give him that. This is a fun one. I saw an old dude walking around Tiburon the other day with a Ravens hat, and I was like, "Oh, what do you think about the Roquan trade?" He's like, "Oh, I love it. We got a middle linebacker that's going to change everything." That just shows old people overvalue middle linebackers. Because, they're saying it's one of the least important, it's like a defensive tackle now. The middle is not where the game is won. It's a passing league. You need your safeties, your corners, and your pass rushers. That being said, Roquan is unbelievably fast, and the Ravens play a 3-4 defense. So if you have Roquan and Patrick Queen in the middle, and Patrick Queen is super athletic, but hasn't really shown the ability to be that guy, the middle linebacker, he can learn from Roquan, and Roquan takes more responsibility, allowing Patrick Queen to blitz and just be an athletic force. So I do love that for them. They've also been ravaged by injuries. I really like it for the Ravens, and they're going in now. So, they're trying to keep Lamar. If they win the Super Bowl, they will keep Lamar. So giving up a second and a fifth and AJ Klein, but I like it. I'm giving an A- for the Ravens. PFF gives them below average. Don't care. It's late over here. It's 10:53. I should take a break.
No, take a break for a second.
I can't. How can I take a break?
I need your help.
I'm live.
With water.
Should I just podcast me pouring water for you?
This is why.
Do you want to talk about it?
This is why people edit things.
I could edit this part. Will you edit this part out for me?
Usually people will just edit this part out.
Well, I'm just gonna live stream. Let's just do it. Here. Just videotape. No, just videotape me. You hold it, and I'm gonna do it. I'll keep talking about football.
No, I need to wash the cup.
So wash the cup.
Just bring it over there.
How can I help you? Pour it in there?
Yeah, just a little bit. It's funny.
That's it.
Open
that too. It's been 24 minutes. Yeah, I should have cut this off. I said I was going to do 2 short ones. It's not a man of my word there. Got a little carried away. Sorry, life. Don't even get to watch football tomorrow. We're moving. Sad days, but the Giants aren't playing, so it's a good one to not get to watch football. So the Bears, love that. Trade a second for Chase Claypool. Get a second and a fifth back for Roquan. It makes more sense, as I always say, to keep the offensive players if they're not going to win anything. So have fun, have Claypool, Fields, and Mooney put on a show, ship out the unhappy Roquan. So basically, they traded Roquan for Claypool and a fifth and AJ Klein. Absolutely genius. Absolutely genius. They give the Bears above average. I give the Bears an A+ for both moves combined. Absolutely makes sense. Middle linebackers, now one of the easier positions to replace as long as they don't do it all. And Roquan has not graded as good as a pass coverage as they think. So it totally makes sense for them. And then the Bears also traded Robert Quinn to the Eagles for a fourth. He had a few years in this deal. And the Eagles were like, nah, they restructured it just like the Rams did with Von Miller last year. So just for the 1 year, it's just a rental. 18.5 sacks last year. Father time hit him. He's just okay this year. But now he goes from a unit where he was the guy to the Eagles who have everyone. He's one of many. And he's still got that Von Miller Gumby stuff. He's going to be able to have some bend in his game. That's a really good move for the Eagles. A+. They're all in. It's unfortunate to say Howie Roseman's good at stuff. This is a really good move for them. PFF gives them an above average. I don't think a 2023 fourth is that big of a deal when you go Super Bowl aspirations and you're getting a pass rusher. If one of their dudes gets hurt, they're going to be like, oh, we should have got a pass rusher. That's how the Giants beat Tom Brady twice. You make the other quarterback unhappy. Robert Quinn will do that. And for the Bears, PFF gives them an above average. I'd go even higher than that. I'd say it's an A- for the Bears. That's a bad contract. It's they get a draft pick back, and the contract was restructured. He's a free agent after this year. If Justin Fields and Chase Claypool pop off, they could get him back. Like, he literally had 18.5 sacks. Roquan cried when they traded Robert Quinn. Like, he had an impact on the team. He could come back. So the Yankees did that with Aroldis Chapman. They traded him to the Cubs. He won them a championship. Even after winning them a championship, he came back to the Yankees. So Quinn could conceivably win with the Eagles and be like, you guys didn't want me around for 3 years? Screw you guys. I'm going back to freezing Chicago. I don't know why he would do that, but my G-Men traded Tony to the Chiefs. We've talked about that a lot. So, still sad. Travis Kelce says he's a baller. Didn't want to hear that. Jaguars traded James Robinson to the Jets for a conditional 2023 6, A+++ for the Jets. Solid backup for Brees next year. He's now their 1A with Michael Carter this year. Makes total sense. Jets are surprisingly a good team. Absolutely get that guy. I don't love it for the Jags. Conditional 2023 6 is nothing. I know you're saying sunk cost of he's an undrafted free agent. We spent nothing. Now we're getting a pick for him. But it's what pick? A conditional 2023 6? I don't like it. Maybe he's slowed down a little bit. He's also still coming off an Achilles tear. We weren't expecting him to be good at all. Even if he's slowing up now, towards the end of the year, he'll be good. And we're talking about having dudes we trust. For Trevor Lawrence, he's a dude in the circle. He's in the circle of trust. He's a 3-down back. He does it all. Also, Etienne is a smaller dude. We don't want him getting crushed going at goal line. You want someone who can go in the goal line, also not just know it's the Brandon Jacobs who's just going straight. If you crowd the box against James Robinson, he just does a little wheel route and gets open. So I don't like giving up someone like James Robinson for free. The PFF gives the Jaguars above average. I'm giving him a D-. Not happy with that. And they give the Jets below average. Totally disagree with that. Great move for the Jets. A+ for the Jets. Panthers, Christian McCaffrey for the whole world. They give the Panthers good. I give the Panthers an A- to A. It'd be an A+, but they've already paid McCaffrey. And then the Niners, they give below average. And I already said it's a solid move from the Niners. It's a B-, B+. There were better ways to allocate it, but if you are going to make this move for McCaffrey, it works. So yeah, I'd actually say it's a B+ for the Niners and A- A for the Panthers. And the Raiders traded a 2024 7th and Jonathan Hankins for a 2023 6th. The Raiders have a top 10 run defense this year. Jonathan Hankins was on the Giants back in the day. Dude's an absolute beast, run stuffing machine. Apparently, the Raiders have 2 other young rookies who are good and are doing that. So they wanted to get them on the field. They're not really win now, so ship out Hankins. I just don't like giving up the 7th. It's just a 7th. It's not a big deal. But why did the Cowboys ask for it? Just a 6th for a dude who's like playing super well, and the Cowboys are win now and needed it. I think they could have done it without giving up the 7th. So because of that, just like PFF said, it's just an average trade for the Raiders. Also could affect the locker room. And if the fans know that, and the fans don't know who the DTs are, and everyone's like, the Raiders suck right now, you don't want to risk pissing off the fans. So I lean, actually, when I first heard it, I thought it was a bad move for the Raiders. But then I found out they had the other DTs. It makes more sense. So I say like C plus for the Raiders. And they give it an average for the Cowboys. No, it's a B plus for the Cowboys. It's a good move. He's a baller. The Chiefs traded cornerback Rashad Fenton, who I'm not going to lie, I had not heard of, to the Atlanta Falcons for a conditional 7th-round pick. They gave the Chiefs an average ranking because they've got Trent McDuffie coming back. Like, oh, we don't need him at corner. So if you read about what Atlanta got, because AJ Terrell and Casey Hayward are hurt, Fenton earned back-to-back coverage grades above 75, which is very good. 60s average, above 75 coverage in 2020 and 2021. So dude's hella good. Dude's like a B plus, and they got a 7th-rounder for him, conditional 7th-rounder. So it's not above average for the Falcons. It's not average for the Chiefs. It's, unless I'm missing something, it's an F for the Chiefs and an A++ for the Falcons. I know the Chiefs always know what they're doing. Could be one of those teams I mentioned who you trust, but I don't trust that. It's saying it's a clear $1.4 million of cash cap savings. For what? For Tony? Like, wasn't this move made after Tony? So they don't need this for Tony. And the Bills made a great move, another with the Falcons. They acquired Dean Marlowe, who was on their team before. Pretty athletic dude, 6'1", 4.5 40 for a 2023 7th. Micah Hyde's out for the season. They've got a new safety to replace him. Great move. And it's bedtime, so I'm out of here. That also was the last trade, so I was actually out of here anyways. But yeah, that's a great move for the Bills. Just the 7th. Going to give them A+ for that. Falcons, it is an average player. The season sucks. They have 2 other good safeties. They got a 7th, whatever. It's like a B+ for them. Enjoy football tomorrow from you guys.